Good morning or early afternoon for those that are joining. Super excited to join or share with you kind of promotion, which is kind of my fifth. So it's something exciting. Hopefully, I give you a few nuggets to continue to focus on off premise and build sales. So the next slide is a little bit about me if you're new. My name is Wendy, yours. I have over 2 decades of experience with off premise, which I thoroughly enjoy. And I help brands define what success looks like. And as I'm exploring my next full time opportunity, I am providing consulting for a couple different things. So, strategic advisor or contract. And even fractional leadership. So, my expertise is on optimizing off premise operations, a lot of work with strategy and pricing, and operational efficiency because the foundation is key to success, whether that be order fulfillment, logistics, or customer engagement to ensure that you have scalable success. And then some strong strengths in marketing and brand positioning so that you can tailor marketing strategies to not only attract and retain, but expand your business. So I hope if you're new, you'll reach out to me on Cater Linked or LinkedIn as well. So let's just dive in. Next slide. Okay, just to what I'm going to go through today is I'm going to define promotion or give you some suggestions on defining that, your own channels. I'm going to talk just briefly about partnerships and community, and then briefly about social and paid media, and then the touch points in restaurant, and then we'll just wrap up with a few key takeaways and then open it up to some Q&A. Next slide. So, if this is the first time you're joining, I just wanted to remind the audience on what the 5P framework is. And you can check out my past webinars on YouTube or Cater Linked. It's product, price, promotion. And promotion is what we're going to talk to today. And then my last series will be next month, and we'll talk about people. So what's key is you've got to define the promotion and off premise, how you're going to promote it. So promotion is how you create awareness and you're going to drive demand for off premise and catering. And that can be different depending on who you're speaking to and what you're speaking about. It's more than just discounts. So a lot of brands sometimes think the only way to draw a promotion is to have incentives or discounts, and that's not necessarily true. You want to continue to build awareness. So it's storytelling. It's positioning your offerings for the brand and it's consistent communication. So you want to regularly be talking about it. I sometimes notice that brands are really good about talking about dine-in experience or LTOs or menus, but catering kind of becomes second, and you really need to think of catering as a business within a business, and you really need to talk about it consistently to build awareness, which would lead to acquisition and frequency. The goal is to get the right message to the right guest at the right time. So if you joined some of my past webinars, I'm a big fan of occasions. And what I mean by occasions is you want to think throughout the year, where does your brand and your food fit best? And use occasions or what I call national food days, like National Cookie Day or National Admin's Day. And you can plot out the ways that you want to attract consumers to why. We call it sometimes in the marketing thing reasons to believe. So if it's free cookies, what is about your story that you're going to tell people and incite them to order because it's National Cookie Day? And that could be buy a dozen, get 2 cookies free, something simple. And then a pro tip that I always try to give is treat off premise as its own mini brand. Like I said earlier, it's a business within a business. So you really need to consistently talk about it based on your framework and not just as an extension of dine in. You really want to talk about what is unique about your experience and your catering offerings. Next slide. Owned. So own channels first. So everyone wants first party and everyone wants to think about, I want everyone to come directly to me. And those own channels are your own website, or if you have an app, if you have an email program or you have a loyalty program, those are your own channels. So you want to make sure that you're leveraging that to communicate directly with your guest. With loyalty, as an example, if you want to work with your loyalty partner at your brand, you may think of segmenting. And what I mean by segmenting is asking consumers as they join your loyalty program, are they interested in catering? Maybe they join because they're a heavy user for dine-in, but they haven't really thought about catering or your offering. If you're doing the segmenting, then you'll have the framework to continually talk to them about catering occasions and hopefully convert dine-in guests to catering. And then the flip side, convert catering guests to dine-in. Because if you do catering well, we used to always say it's kind of paid marketing and it's on fire. So highlight off-premise and catering menus prominently. So make sure that you have them on your website. I do notice an opportunity for some brands is they may have a menu on their website, but they don't have a printable version. So sometimes the admin or what I call the decision maker is really going to want to sometimes print out the menu. So make sure you have a printable menu available on your website. And then, of course, you need to have a print menu in your restaurants, whether that's being put into all the orders as a bag stuffer or for the guests to quickly grab. And it'll build awareness throughout the audience. You can feature limited time bundles and seasonal offers. So, when I talked about occasions, we're headed into one of the busiest occasions, which is holiday. Some brands keep it simple and promote holiday bundles. And what I mean by holiday bundles, it could be twofold. One, it could be focusing if you're a brand that has the kind of food that's unique for holiday. Like a lot of brands focus on kind of that Thanksgiving offering or Christmas offering, the turkey, the ham. If that works for your branding, you could create a catering buffet or package or bundle. Or you could just take the best of the best and create and spotlight an assorted buffet or catering package that's simple for operations and gives you a stepping board to talk about holidays. And you could say our holiday special. And maybe you've got a simple one where it's just a meal, and then you have a more complex bundle where it includes desserts and a beverage, and then you price them for value so that you can make it super easy for the decision makers. And then include ordering links everywhere to make it effortless. Especially, I'll talk a little bit about it in your social channels. If you can do it on your chits, and chits are those POS receipts, right? You want to take every touch point you can think of and kind of have a subtle message just in case somebody grabs attention to that and continues to promote catering. The pro tip is own channels are your highest return, right? You already have invested in email. You've already invested in loyalty. You've already invested in your website. So you definitely want to have some strong messaging and leverage those assets to really grow off premise and catering before you start looking into paid media and outsourcing. Next slide. Partnerships and community, which are huge. Gotta love salespeople because outreach is key to success with catering. And so there's partnering with local businesses, office event planners to drive group orders. I will say that there's a lot of great leaders on Cater Link and have been giving a ton of great ideas on who to talk to and what to say. So I'm just giving you some top line nuggets. Every industry acts a little bit different. So for schools, for instance, there's a plethora of events and types of events and who you might want to talk to get that event. And then the decision makers across different segments like business or financial or training. And your salespeople are crucial to helping you with that outreach. You could do some offers or incentives like first order incentive. One of my favorite promotions that has tracked very successfully is sometimes during the holiday there it's twofold. One, I used to call it the book early or the early bird special. And that really just helps you get in front of the decision maker before they go with another brand. So you can have an incentive to get that person over the purchase line and acquire them. And what I mean by that is sometimes promoting to the guests, hey, if this is your first time ordering, if you book by, mid-October for November or December, we'll not only give you a discount, but we'll also give you what they like is with them. And with them is what's in it for me. And you could get them a gift card for the actual brand itself that they could use later. And so what you're trying to do is it's going to get really busy and really crowded, and you want to get that decision maker over the line. You could also sponsor local events to showcase. So I'm a big fan of what I call samplings or local partnerships where you can offer to do, complimentary lunches for a small group to build on awareness and get connections within the community. And then you could also build a referral program for repeat business. So simply, doing an email and saying if you were to share this and they should book, this will call for some kind of tech or some kind of way to track that, because you definitely, if you offer a referral program, you definitely want to make sure that person is confident that, hey, they referred Sandy as an example and Sandy books, that you're actually going to redeem that offer. So a pro tip here is create a simple catering VIPs, another favorite one of mine, or planner perks program to reward your best advocates and your top catering. I think I saw Earl talk on a podcast earlier this month, and he was asking somebody is, are you or is somebody high in your organization, are you calling back your top 10 customers and thanking them for their patronage? So just think some of the smallest little details can pay out in big dividends. Next slide. Social and paid media. So I did talk about own channels. You can also use social media to showcase off-premise moments. And this is another one where I see some brands do a really good job talking about the brand and the new food and dine-in, but I don't see a lot of content about off-premise and catering. And sometimes it's the brand doesn't have content, right? And content is images, videos. Sometimes you can use micro influencers. I did that at one brand where they're like, Wendy, yeah, we do want to talk about it across our social channels, but we don't have any content. So there's two things. Had to keep it cheap or scrappy. One brand we had an in-house photographer, so we used him and set up a catering actually at the office and fed the team, which they loved because they got free food. But we also were then able to collect the content to then use it as a video, and we kept it pretty generic so we could post different occasions. So think of that as one way that you can do it. You can also use some of your marketing assets if you just want to do still shots to talk about things on your social channel. But I think what I'm trying to share is that you've got to use those channels and make sure that you're not only focusing on the brand and the dine in, but how are you focusing across those different occasions and getting consumers to think about those off premise occasions and catering. You can run targeted ads by geography, occasion, and group size. I always partnered with our digital people. They have some, low investment opportunities, and sometimes it takes a lot of testing to kind of figure out exactly what is the best route and what is the right level of spend. You can also go back again. This was the 5 Ps, and make sure you know your target audience, because you want to make sure that if you're going to invest in paid media, that it is positioned to target the guests that you are targeting to increase your catering sales. And make sure you're aligning on messaging and peak ordering times, right? Like some of the fun ones are football. Football's another big one that's coming up. And football really is twofold. It can be for consumers just watching, parties at home. And then it can be those bigger celebrations sometimes the offices do to get their people all excited about football season. And then graduations, we'll talk about that later in the year. So, pro tip, user generated content of real catering setups outperforms polished ad shots. So, really, if you have the ability to have in house videography or you're able to invest in it, it does perform very well. As well, I've used micro influencers. And when I say micro influencers, there's a lot out there. And sometimes I will choose a micro influencer and just do your homework. Make sure you really look at the quality of their videography, their following, their post, to make sure the micro influencer that you identify is on brand. That is key, right? Because you are partnering with them. And so you want to make sure that you dig deep into kind of their past. And then sometimes for very little investment, they help you build that library of content. So there was one brand, again, we were very scrappy, didn't have a huge budget to create content. And so I hired a couple micro influencers after doing my due diligence, and then was able to use that content to map out how I was going to speak about the brand and the occasions for the rest of the year. So it was a very good investment. And then you can always ask guests for photos. So make sure, I'm not the lawyer here, but make sure you get with your legal counsel for your brand because you might need a photo release signed by a guest. But if you're at events and you get those signed, you usually can use some of those photography or images from events that you're already doing and post them for social content because telling the real story is always impactful. And then testimonials, whether you use that on your social channels or even on your website. And really, that's just what your guests are saying about you. And again, if you don't have permission or a release form, is what they call it, you can do generic quotes. Right? You don't have to necessarily say where it came from, but it will speak a little bit louder if you're able to do a release form and get the guests to sign the release form and share, hey, it's Wendy from WR Consultant, and here's what she said about catering. Next slide. So in restaurant, right? So this is really important. I actually have gone to a lot of restaurants and noticed that, you know what? If you were on my place webinar, I talk about you've got to walk into that building, into the brand, and think of it as do I know you cater by the time I leave? So there's all different touch points or places that brands should consider kind of tagging it or mention catering. Can start from the outside of the building, right? Could be a sandwich board or sidewalk sign, right? Just now catering. These are just little nuggets for a low investment. It could be once you're in store, you're tagging the menu. If it's a quick serve or fast casual and you have menu boards, make sure that you've just got to settle it and we cater. And then if you have any branding tag message, as well as at the cashier. So again, if it's one of those where you're going through a cashier line, make sure that your menus are prominent and that you're tagging. And you can also use table tents and different, low cost signage to continue to build off premise and catering. There's another thing too, is within your SOPs or your training documents for your staff or your managers, make sure that you're always giving them a couple nuggets of how they can quickly just in like 10 seconds, 15 seconds mention catering, especially when you're going into a busy season like the holiday. So if I came in to have lunch, can you train and work with your operators to just, hey, mention, hey, and are you doing catering for the holiday season? Please grab a menu. We'd love to book an order with you, etc. And then provide takeaway cards with QR codes linking to online ordering. So sometimes this can be done on a sticker on the bag. So I'm a big fan of what I call tamper evidence stickers. And if you can use some of that real estate to add a QR code or a link to ordering, that's cool. Or if you have a separate sticker, because a lot of brands, best practices for labeling is putting one of those POS receipts, which I call the chit, and you could use the sticker that you place the chit on to drive guests to find out more information about your catering. So make the catering line or phone number visible on receipts, especially if you have a national call center or a call line supporting inquiries and orders. You definitely want to take advantage of that and put it on all these different things that I mentioned to continue to drive people to your website or your call center and book more orders. Just remember, I know that sometimes this is very obvious, but every dining guest is the potential off-premise guest. And remind them before they leave when you thank them. It's as simple as that. Next slide. So to wrap it up, promotion should build awareness, it should build trust, and hopefully drive repeat orders. You got to deliver on your promises, no pun intended, deliver, but you get one chance with catering. So definitely need to make sure you have strong foundational and you're on time and your orders are accurate, and you will continue to build frequency. Start with own channels, is what I shared. Those are a little bit lower investment. Then layer on partnerships and paid media and do some testing. So, your media and digital people usually are wicked smart, and partnering with them early helps you guys work together to identify the most cost effective approaches. You may know, if you're the catering leader of your organization, you may know the catering consumer and you may tie it back to the target audience. Where your digital media people is, you can share that with them so that they position those paid ads to drive the most conversion. And then highlight convenience and group solutions, not just discounts. Like I said, it could be bundles, it could be add ons. And then make sure that you're taking and working closely with operations to train your team to plant seeds for off premise. It just takes 2 seconds to say, "Hey, and did you know we cater? Grab a menu." It could be at one brand for the holiday season, we changed how we answered the phone. And what I mean by that is it was just a really short script of, thank you for calling X. Did you know we cater? How may I help you today? So just simple things really can pay off in dividends. So the pro tip here is consistency beats one-time campaigns. You can't just go out there and not talk about catering for several months and then talk about the holidays and expect to get as much traction because everybody's going after a holiday. So I really am an advocate for really working on consistent messaging throughout the year and keep off-premise top of mind year round, as I said. So I'm going to wrap it up and kind of move to Q&A. Okay, so one of the questions is how can restaurants get more B2B catering orders? One of my favorite. I think I mentioned in the presentation, you've got to target office managers, admins, event planners. It depends on what industry segment you're talking to because there may be different decision makers across for that. Offer first order incentives is what I talked about. Follow up with loyalty and perks that you can offer. So there's lots of great ways to keep the brand top of mind. Next question. What's the most cost effective way to promote off premise channels? That's a great question, and I hopefully answered it, but it's really you've got to think of your own channels first. So we talked about email, your website, your social channels. These are the low cost reach guests who already know your brand. So layer in partnerships and local outreach before you're spending money in paid media. Should off-premise promotions be different from dine-in? As I said, they should. You may talk to them a little bit different. So off-premise customers are looking for convenience, reliability, group solutions, and they want to highlight the benefits rather than just the price. How can social media help drive off premise? Social media is a great avenue. Some people think that it's more about consumer, but you got to remember everybody's a consumer. So even though I may be on my social channels really looking about me, that's going to help build awareness when I think of a catering event. So really, I love making sure that you're consistently talking across your social channels. And then what's an easy way to promote catering to dine-in guests? Every prototype is different. So I have found success, like I said, external. So you got to walk outside the building, and based on permitting or kind of local, laws, some do a banner if that's on brand, because banners sometimes aren't brand. A sidewalk side I mentioned, it could be a Klingon sticker, but you just want to take advantage of everyone walking into the restaurant. Do you just have a quick message of we cater? Doesn't have to be complex. I also mentioned if you're a brand that's fast casual or quick serving, you have digital menu boards that you want to kind of have kind of a subtle message about we cater. At the checkout, at the cashier, it could be menu cards, it could be in the check holder. So just think of all the different touch points that a guest goes through in their experience when they're dining in. And one of the exercises I suggest to people is walk through the building, experience everything, and think of low hanging fruit of where you could tag it with the catering message. Well, that's going to wrap it up. Thank you for my technical support today. And for those that joined, I do apologize for some of the technical issues and look forward to talking about the last part of this webinar series of the 5 Ps, which is people. Have a great day and look forward to working with you and having a super holiday season for everybody.